Well, I asked him if he wanted to visit. He said, why don't you stop over to the fair?
Yeah, we shipped to Kingsley late last night. More time. Thank you. I go ahead.
I thought it was on.
The only person working is a security guard.
Well, the city extra I go, they always have something to check it out.
In theory, mine does, but I don't think I've ever seen them.
Yeah, no,
They might be stalking.
They generally, well, they have a new guy that does all this stuff. Thank you for your work.
There's occasionally somebody out there stalking. Which is really annoying because that's when I just get up I have frequently been in line, help somebody in front of me, and then they shut me. I'd be like the only person there. Can't you just like, now I gotta wait an hour?
Good morning.
How are you feeling?
Well, I'm here. I'm here.
You're here.
One day at a time. I just got home Friday.
Are you traveling?
No,
You were back in the hospital?
I
I had no idea.
lost most of the summer in the hospital.
You had to go back.
I was in the hospital probably and the last one was quite long. I went to rehab for a couple of weeks. Got home on Friday.
Son, that's what delighted to see you back.
Well, I'm delighted to
You could put in a try or something. I would have announced it.
Yeah.
Not allowed access.
I don't know whether I'm going to be places yet.
Why did you have to go back?
And the last time I went, I couldn't make it. Barely. This guy had to give me a hand. I wanted to go to
Yeah, it wasn't.
Good morning and happy summer. My name is Susan Takaw, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees here at MLUC. In this Unitarian Universalist space, we gather not because we all believe the same thing, but because we are committed to traveling together, seeking meaning, practicing compassion, and building a world rooted in love and justice. Today, we turn our hearts towards connection, the kind that deepens when we truly see one another, listen with care, and show up in ways that matter. A warm welcome to all of you who are joining us today, whether you're in this room or online. Good morning. And a special welcome to those of you who are visiting for the first, second, or third time. We're so glad you're here. I hope you'll join us after the service for coffee, tea, or snacks across the hall in the fireside room. It's a wonderful opportunity to get to know each other and to see the beauty of this church. Our worship team today will be led by Yvette McDonald, our congregational life coordinator and ministerial intern, and our Director of Learning and Family Ministries, Dawn Starr Saris Borchelt. Our music will be provided by Greg Fiorentino on piano, and our worship associate today is Tina Adams. And of course, thank you to our media team. I want to remind you that there's always a lot happening here at MLUC, so look on the back of your program, and for some items, look at the QR code, and you can also visit our website at mluc.org. So now, kindly silence your electronic devices, and then let us join together in affirming our mission statement. Oops. Together, we transform lives through love, service, and our welcoming faith.
As we light our chalice today, we come together again, gather in love, light the fire of hope, and build the foundation. Commit together again, gather in truth, light the fire of freedom, build the entryways. Continue together again. Gather in community, Light the fire of the future. Build the shelter. Now please rise in body or in spirit as we sing together. Hymn number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me.
Last year, Yvette found a great idea that she wanted to bring to our community, our larger community, and unfortunately, the event she was going to take it to got canceled due to the weather, I think. And so it didn't happen, but it's going to happen today. So the idea is called Take a Seat, Make a Friend. And you can find videos about it online, but basically what happens is two people, preferably people who don't know each other super well, sit down next to each other or across from each other, and they talk to each other. So the way we're doing it, we have a bowl of balls, and some of the balls have questions written on them. And so we sit down across from each other, and the questions are not just surface questions. They're questions where hopefully you can have a little bit of a deeper conversation about them. And get to know the person you're sitting with a little bit better. So later this year, Yvette's going to take this setup, the sign, some balls, on the road to community events or other appropriate occasions, and share who we are with others and in our community, and invite folks to share who they are. But today, we're going to demonstrate how it works, and then it'll be available out at coffee hour. Look for this sign and the balls, and you can sit down in 2 chairs, and you can see if somebody else wants to sit down with you. But everybody who's here gets to try it themselves right now. And if you're watching online, if you have someone else in your household who's watching with you, you can also try this. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a ball, and I'm going to read the question. And then we're going to turn my microphone off, and Yvette and I can talk to each other. But you're all going to find somebody somewhere near you, preferably somebody you don't know super well. But if you would be more comfortable talking to the person you came in with, you can. But look around, and you might have to move for a minute. We've got time. And you will talk about that question. Now, I thought about this and I was like, I know that if people sit down and they pick a ball out and they're like, I don't like this question, they're gonna go back and pick a different one, right? That's how people are. So if you really hate the question that I pick out of the bowl and you don't wanna talk about it with anybody, you can come up and look for a different question if you would like. But I encourage you to try the one that we pick out because it's probably not that bad. And then once we sort of feel like the conversations are starting to die down, we'll ring the chime and bring you back together, and we'll move on to the next part of the service. But who is the most important person in your life and why? Find somebody who you can talk to about who is the most important person in your life and why. that if you moved it closer to the microphone, it did the wow, wow thing. That's fun. I hope you had a good conversation. I did. And I would like to invite children and youth to come meet me in the atrium, and we'll figure out what we're doing next.
Each month during the year and every summer, we select a local charity with whom we share half of our collection. Our current recipient is Family Promise of Montgomery County. The organization provides an interfaith response to homelessness and hunger. As members and friends of our community know, we host families regularly, and we're thrilled again to be hosting some families this week, beginning this afternoon. Thank you to all of our volunteers who are making this happen. A recent project of the organization has been the introduction of food lockers at Family Promise's Food Pantry in Roslyn, PA. Families are able to choose the food they need at a time and place that works for them. This maintains their privacy and independence. One of their clients said recently, "The process is easy and convenient, and being able to order and pick up food on a day and time when I am able is very helpful. Managing this between work, school, and my kids. I worry less about being able to feed my family." If you'd like to make a donation, a cashless donation, and are in the sanctuary, you may scan the QR code that is in the order of service, or for those here and those at home, you may also follow the instructions that you see on the screen behind me. The offering will now be gratefully received. Will the ushers please come forward? Candles of Community is our ritual of personal sharing and support. We join together as we light a candle and say, we hold you in our hearts. I have an anonymous quote. The candle loses nothing by sharing the light. No members have asked us to share today, but we light a candle for all joys, concerns, or sorrows that are left unspoken or are just too deep for words right now. And we hold you in our hearts. From The Art of Living by Thich Nhat Hanh. When I met with Dr. Martin Luther King, we spoke about our dreams of building community. He called it the beloved community. A beloved community is a community of people who share the same aspiration and want to support each other to realize that aspiration. If we want to grow on our spiritual path, we need a community and spiritual friends to support and nourish us. And in return, we support and nourish them like cells in the same body. On our own, without a community, we cannot do much. We need a community of like-minded friends and colleagues to help us realize our deepest dreams. The key elements in a beloved community are love, trust, joy, harmony, brotherhood, and sisterhood. When we can generate understanding and compassion in our way of being and working together, everyone we interact with feels that energy right away and is able to profit from it. We can create moments to listen deeply to one another's insights and difficulties, or a relaxing moment with tea and cookies where we take time just to be fully present with each other. Our community can become a source of support and a place of refuge for many people. We nourish our community in our lifetime, and it carries us forward into the future.
Wow, that was so beautiful. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to the people who are joining us online. I hope you all are doing well. Friday, there was a lot happening on Friday. And all the things that were unfolding, I saw my neighbor, and she said, "How are you?" And in that one moment, I was like, I have no idea how to answer this question. So instead of really going there in my own mind, I just said, "Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?" Yeah. And then I came inside and melted into a puddle on my floor because we had just gotten a text from my daughter's school saying that there had been an active shooter at a nearby college campus. And that's what was happening in that moment. And the neighbor had just asked me, "How are you?" And my response, with a smile, was, "Oh, yeah, I'm fine." Fine. How many of you have done that? Oh, wow. Right? And so, as I'm melting with tears like pouring down my face, I was remembering a time about 2 years ago. There had been a mass shooting in the state that I had lived in. And we were on lockdown for about 2 or 3 days. There was no school. And so this event that took place on Friday triggered all kinds of emotions and triggered all kinds of feelings. And then the news of the National Guard and carrying, it was a lot to deal with on a Friday. And it wasn't even like 6 o'clock. And I said, why would I respond in such a way? Why do any of us respond in that way when somebody says, "How are you?" Why do we do that? You can tell me, because I'm still sorting it out, why do we do that? It's easy, right? It's an easy thing. We just kind of pass through, "Hi, how are you?" And fine. And it's a very quick exchange. And I sat there very quietly, and for a moment I was feeling just a little bit alone. So I reached out to a friend, and I was like, "How are you all doing? How are you doing with life?" And her response, she said, "Life is like a tea party on a tightrope." And I laughed. The tears stopped, and I just laughed. I was like, what a great response. I said, I'm going to use that. Life is like a tea party on a tightrope, because that is exactly the layered and complex feelings that I was really feeling when the neighbor asked, "How are you doing?" And so I'm going to hold on to that piece of feeling that I was not really alone. It felt like I was alone. And when I reached out to my friend who lives many, many states away, she was feeling the way that I was feeling, and she actually shared that with me. And it reminded me of a couple of things. It reminded me that I was giving a sermon today about going deeper, right? It was a nice reminder, and it gave me something to ponder as I was preparing for today's sermon, and how I was feeling just a little tiny bit of loneliness. And the reality is that I'm not alone. The reality is other people feel very similar as I do, and maybe if I would have just taken the time to come up with something clever, perhaps like my friend, my neighbor and I might have had a different conversation in that moment. So, friends, we're going to just kind of dive right in this morning with a sombering reality. Did you know that there was a recent Gallup poll that reveals that 1 in every 5 Americans carries the daily burden of loneliness? Did you all know this? Yeah. And this is not simply just like a passing feeling, but what Dr. Vivek Murthy, our former U.S. Surgeon General, has named a national epidemic. He has named this sense of loneliness a national epidemic and isolation, that nearly half of U.S. adults report feeling some sense of loneliness. It's this sense of disconnection that isn't just emotional weight, but it's a health hazard to feel lonely, to be alone. It's a chronic loneliness that increases the risk of premature death by 29%. I see some of you shaking your head. Yeah. And that's comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's a lot. And raises the likelihood of heart disease, stroke, and dementia. Now, this is not a fun way to start a service. Me in a puddle and all of this. But it's really important that we talk about it. And there are things that we can do to kind of combat this sense of loneliness and social isolation. And in the moments when personally I am feeling that, because I do feel it, I'm human, in those moments that I feel a little bit isolated, I feel a little bit alone, I find that reaching out and talking, that works really well for me. I reach out to my inner circle. And so my inner circle are my friends, my new friends, associates that I'm making, my family members, and even my work colleagues. And just taking a time to slow down, just to kind of chat a little bit. And then I also find that working in my outer community, so my outer community would be like chatting with my neighbor a little bit longer. It would be going out, when I go to the farmer's market, or when I go to the supermarket, or when I just take a walk and there's a lot of people and you just pass pleasantries of hello. I find when I engage in my inner community and my outer community, that sense of loneliness shifts, and there's a difference. I feel the difference. And it's not so simple all the time as just going out to the store, but it's really about practice, right? It's about practicing living into the ability to go just a bit deeper. There are so many things, as you already know, that are happening that I'm not going to name all of them, where the world can feel very, very isolating, especially because our political arena is kind of pulling us, right? This is layered. It's not an absolute, but it's pulling friendships apart. It's pulling families apart. It's pulling people into this camp over here and this camp over there. And the big question is, how do we stay connected through all of that mess? How do we stay connected to love, and how do we stay connected through, right? Not in spite of, but through it. How are we going to get through this? And how do we move beyond surface level conversations and enter into relationships that cultivate a sense of trust, a sense of compassion, and spiritual kinship? How do we listen It's really difficult. I find it to be very difficult, particularly now. How do we listen with our hearts? How do we listen and approach one another with this sense of holy curiosity? And how do we nurture our connections that reveal the divine spark that lives in each and every one of us? And I really feel that it's really important now. Each week it feels like it's so urgent, but it feels especially important now that we're able to find ways to connect with each other, find ways to center our UU values, find ways that we can sit with our neighbors, welcome in the stranger and the seeker beyond the thresholds, and dive deep into conversations that will illuminate something within inside of each of us. So how do we do that? How do you all do that? I would love to hear it. Like, how do you all do that? Do you know how to do that? It might just start by when somebody says, "How are you?" We don't always have to put on a brave face and smile and say, "I'm fine, everything's great," when there's all these things, right, that are happening. It's okay to say, you know what, life is full right now. Life is a lot right now. Life is like a tea party on a tightrope, which I just love. So there isn't one answer. And our connections happen in very quiet moments. Genuine connection can happen when we least expect it. And each act of real connection that we have with each other can become a spiritual practice. We can practice not always saying, "I'm fine," but it's a practice, and one clearly that I'm not very good at. It's a practice, it's a living prayer, and it's the thing that could draw us closer to wholeness within our own selves. And this is so important because the moment we choose, because it's a choice, the moment we choose to connect, that's where the spark of hope happens. And we can become vessels of pieces, just vessels of healing the world when we are interacting with ourselves in a true way. So I would invite you just to settle in just for a moment as I share and recount a poem/story written by Naomi Shaib Nye called Gate 4. Because I find it to be a really beautiful account of how deep connections can really shift somebody's moment and somebody's day and a lifetime. Wandering around Albuquerque Airport Terminal after learning my flight had been delayed for 4 hours, I heard an announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of gate A4 understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one pauses these days. Gate A4 was my gate. I was there. And an older woman in full traditional Palestinian embroidered dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled on the floor, wailing, "Help! Help!" said the flight agent. So I talked to her. What is her problem? What's going on? The flight agent said, "We told her that her flight was going to be late, and she did this." And I stooped to put my arms around the woman and spoke. The minute she heard any words she knew, however poorly used in Arabic, she stopped crying. She thought that her flight had been canceled entirely, and she needed to get to El Paso for a major medical treatment the next day. And I said, no, we're fine. You'll get there just later. Who is picking you up? Let me call him. We called her son. I spoke with him in English, and I told him I would stay with his mother until we got on the plane, and I would ride next to her. She talked to him. Then we called her other sons, just for the fun of it. Then we called my dad, and he spoke with her for a while in Arabic and found out, of course, they had 10 friends in common. Then I thought, just for the heck of it, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This all took up 2 hours. She was laughing a lot by then, telling of her life, patting her knee, answering questions. She had pulled a sack of homemade mahmoud cookies, little powdered sugar, crumbled mounds stuffed with dates and nuts from her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate. To my amazement, not a single woman declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo, we were all covered in the same powdered sugar and smiling. There is no better cookie. And then the airline broke out free apple juice from huge coolers, and 2 little girls from our flight ran around serving it, and they were all covered in powdered sugar too. And I noticed my new best friend. By now, we were holding hands, and a potted plant poking out of her bag, some medicinal things with green furry leaves. I thought, such an old tradition. Always carry a plant. Always stay rooted somewhere. And I looked around the gate of late and weary ones. I thought, this is the world I want to live in. The shared world. Not a single person in that gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, seemed apprehensive about another person. They took the cookies. I wanted to hug all of the women. This can still happen anywhere. Not everything is lost. Friends, not everything is lost. And we can move beyond surface conversations and connect deeply by starting small, by starting with our own communities here. And each act of genuine connection affirms our shared humanity. And as I say every time I'm up here, connection is not easy work. And it takes a little bit of effort, but it is a way we can embody our faith into action. Because every time we choose connection over isolation, we help create the world we wish to see. A world grounded in love, a world grounded in justice, and a world grounded in interdependence. There's an old saying, you might have heard it. It's about taking time to sit a spell. Have you all ever heard that, sitting a spell with somebody? It's about slowing down. It's about sharing coffee. It's about sharing a cup of tea and a few minutes with someone and just being together. Nothing more. When we take the time to sit a spell, like the woman at gate 4, we give ourselves a chance to really listen and connect. And that's how we start to put down roots and become part of something bigger, even if it's just for the here and now. And in these everyday moments, real community really will start to grow. None of us are meant to carry the burdens of life alone, especially now as life can feel bigger than any one of us can handle. So I invite you to sit a spell. I invite you to sit a spell with your neighbors. I invite you to invite somebody out for a meal, a cup of coffee, a quiet walk. And let us be willing to go just a little bit deeper, beyond the surface of chit-chat, to truly listen and hold one another's joys and sorrows. And and when we take time to sit a spell, when we take time to be with each other, regardless where we are connected and we are sharing sacred stories. And it's a privilege. It is such a privilege to be able to sit and hold the container, hold someone else's story. It is sacred. It is an honor. To be trusted in a way to hold each other's stories, to hold the container for somebody else, allows our true humanity to shine. When you become the keeper, of someone's story, there's a holy bond that is formed. Community is built not only on grand gestures, but it's the gentle, everyday acts of kindness we offer one another. It's quiet, subtle miracles that happen in everyday places. And sometimes these connections are found in a smile. Sometimes these connections are found at the grocery store. Sometimes these connections are found when you just wish the cashier a good day, holding the door for another person. And these gestures may seem really insignificant, and they may go unnoticed, especially if you're rushing around in our daily lives. But they matter. These small gestures matter. And these acts are a little ordinary, but they're super powerful. And they tell each of us, and they tell the person that, I see you, you are valued, and you are not alone. Every Sunday, we are all invited to go over to the fireside room for coffee. I go over there every Sunday. And I realize that there are so many of you, and I've been here for 7 or 8 months, and I still don't know everyone. And I know that's going to take some time. But just like today, when we had the space and time to purposely focus on really going beyond the surface and getting to know each other, I would like for us to continue to do that. And I'm inviting myself to do the same thing. So when you see this sign someplace, and you don't have to do it where you see the sign, but sometimes breaking the ice beyond the I'm fine, the pleasantries is a little difficult. Take a seat and make a friend, and pull a question out of the bowl and see where that takes you. See how those connections can deepen and the roots can grow. I first encountered this activity when I was doing my clinical pastoral education with UU minister Reverend Karen Hutt. And taking a seat, making a friend is a great way for us to practice going deeper with one another, but it's also something that the congregational care team and I will be taking out this fall to festivals to just sit a spell with a stranger, because we need it. We need it more now than ever. So when we leave here today, If you can do it on your own, that's great. But if you need a little encouragement, grab a ball and sit down and grab a cup of coffee, a snack. And if you already have a friend, maybe you all can get to know just each other a little bit better. And maybe be brave enough to sit with somebody you don't know so well and have a conversation. And with that, I would like to invite us to stand in body, mind, or spirit and sing "We Will Build a Land," hymn 121. Thank you. Maybe seated. As we extinguish our chalice, I would like to share the words by Adam Slate. Be kind, be brave, be just, be merciful, be hopeful. This is how we keep the chalice flame burning until we are together again. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so.